Hey folks, this is a redo of video 4. The content, generally speaking, was good, but I bounced around some and I've decided to format it just a little bit differently. I need to line this all up for some future videos, and I wanted to put in some more groundwork and do it with a little more clarity, a little more structure. So first of all, I'd like to start off this video by talking about my goals. And in order to understand my goals of these videos, you need to understand some information about some information that I have. I have been in this market for 12 years or so. And about 2 years ago, a year to 2 years ago, my business started taking some hits. And so I started paying very, very, very close attention to my competitors in my marketplace. I do have a master's in business. I've also got an undergraduate degree in engineering. I'll take you to my website later so you guys can check me out. Not so you can check me out and qualify me, although that's a good thing, but also because I'm going to be dropping a lot of names of different people. And, in fairness to them, they need to know where to go to find information about me if that's of interest to them. So the bottom line is that I've been watching very closely our marketplace. I'm also a licensed real estate agent and a licensed contractor. So not only have I been watching our marketplace as an observer and a vacation rental owner, but I have the ability to see what houses are being bought for what, who's buying them, how much they're buying them for. And, needless to say, I can also look into public record and check on mortgages and financing and stuff. None of this is private. It's all public. But in doing that over the past 2 years, and more so in an accelerated manner in the past 5 months, I've come across some things that are just fascinating. I think they're going to blow your mind. But there are so many possible ramifications of some of the data that I'm going to present. I want to make sure everybody has some baseline information or access to baseline information that's MBA-ish in theory, so that we can have some much higher level dialogue and people can be given places to go to find out some vocabulary if they're not sure of what we're talking about, what kind of strategies, big company strategies might be in play. So my goals are contingent upon the fact that you have to understand that within 2 or 3 or 4 videos from now, I'm going to publish some data that's actually already published online, but nobody knows where the URL is, that I think is going to blow your mind. And I want to give you the background so that you can appreciate what's been published and then try to make sense of it using a mentality of a big business and industry level stuff and macro level business as opposed to the small business mindset that many of us have. Okay, so that said, my goals: increase dialogue and increase awareness of what is really going on around us. And that's goal number 1. And that is not necessarily with me. So in other words, I'm not saying increase dialogue with me. I've got a whole lot of stuff going on in several different industries right now. I just have a vested interest in this because my cash flow was primarily coming from my vacation rentals. So increase dialogue and increase awareness of what's going on. Another goal: increase awareness that all conversations about all of this among fellow property owners are quite complex. What's good for one group may not be good for another. And this is primarily focused at the folks in the Say No to VRBO group. I think we have to understand there's a lot of dynamics going on in there. We have individual owners like myself that own 1 or 2 properties. Then we have people like myself that own 1 or 2, but they manage 1 or 2. Then we have people that don't own any, but they're small property management companies. And then you get to the larger property management companies. Then we might have some mega property management companies that may or may not be represented in there. And let's face it, if I go out of business and other people like me go out of business, that's good news for the people that are up the food chain, and if it just is, it is what it is. So, my goal is to get more balance and more equity, let's say on the VRBO side or in the marketplace in general or in the industry, aren't necessarily in line with many others that might be in our own group. And that's just human nature. It's part of competing. So the other thing to be conscious of is that, I have a mortgage on my property and I have base expenses. I think there's a lot of us in this group which this may be retirement money. They've pulled it out of the stock market and maybe they own the house outright or they have a very low mortgage on it. And frankly, they can go without as much business. If they get 2 or 3 or 4% return on their money, they're good. So those are very dramatic, different positions. And we need to be conscious of the fact that, just because I'm excited about something working, I recognize that if it works for me, it might be a negative for somebody up the food chain from me and vice versa. So increase big business understanding. I've got a couple slides here I'm going to bring over. What I'm talking about are things like cooperating competitors, vertical integration, and then I'm going to use turnkey as an example. And And then increase understanding of what a competitive analysis is, why you might want to do it, and what you might find. So that's my lead in, my preliminary lead into my data, which will come out in another couple of videos. So let's talk about the big business thing real quick. I'm just going to give you some slides here. Cooperating competitor. So we have the term competitor and cooperating competitor. If you don't know what this is, look it up. It's basically when Coke and Pepsi many years ago used to advertise. They quit advertising. What did that really do? It put more money in their pocket. Okay, that's what it did. So co-peditors is what I often call them. If you put cooperating competitor together, you get co-peditors. This is a very common understanding in big business, and most small business people don't really understand it. So if you don't understand what competing is, look it up. It's critical. We don't necessarily have a monopoly in our marketplace, but with only 3 big players who are competing together, the net effect on us is monopoly. And that's something that you really need to get your arms around. Okay. Vertical integration is another one. Vertical integration is when a company wants to control all aspects of their supply chain. What would a crazy vertical integration of the vacation rental industry look like? Imagine if a massive banker, somebody with more money than God, came in and said, I want to control the entire industry. What might he or she do? Given the condition it's in right now, he or she might put up a whole crap load of money. He or she might go into every major metropolitan place that they want to be involved in and hire contractors or lend money to small investment groups to buy up properties. Once those properties are completed and in the vacation rental marketplace, they might turn them over to a company like Turnkey. And once they turn them over to Turnkey, then they advertise them on VRBO. What they've just done is they've used the VRBO structure to control a marketplace, And while as crazy as that sounds, has anybody looked into who the folks at Turnkey are? If you look at the executives at Turnkey, these guys all, take a look at his background here, take a look at his background through here, and take a look at his background here. These guys all worked for companies that were bought out by or related to Expedia or HomeAway. So while this is a different company, when you want to vertically integrate and you don't want people around you to know what you've done, oftentimes you will do it with different companies that appear unrelated. In fact, are unrelated from a corporate ownership perspective. But what you got is a situation where you could just as easily look at this as a unrelated arm, legally unrelated arm of VRBO. I mean, these guys are now. That said, I think these guys are advertising on Airbnb and advertising their properties there too. Which clears them of some of that stuff from a true vertical integration perspective. But you've got guys that are very closely tied to those. So vertical integration is something to be mindful of. It may pop up later. And like I said, if you want to look up some of these guys, look at their names. There's some LinkedIn profiles and stuff here. Okay. Increase the understanding of competitive analysis. I'll go over that some later. What you look into. So ultimately, what are the benefits I'm trying to get to here? With my videos and then the releasing of the data and blah, blah, blah is, first, I'm hoping that we might hit on something that might have legs in the realm of antitrust. And if we do, that needs to happen fast. Now, this is from my perspective of a guy who likes a competitive marketplace and feels a competitive marketplace across the board is a benefit to our society as a whole. So I look at it from a big perspective and a micro perspective, and in the middle, it's a little bit gets blurry. That's where a lot of other people fall. So that's one of the benefit of these videos might be that somehow we hit on something that triggers something that somehow, can trigger some move in an antitrust way. That said, I have very little faith in our antitrust system as I haven't seen it enforced at all in the past 2 decades. So that's one possible benefit of this. The next benefit of these videos would be ultimately the fact that each of us is going to have a higher perspective or a higher precision or higher altitude on our own markets, our own marketplace, and what's going on. And when you have a higher perspective, it allows you to make more informed decisions faster for your own benefit. So ultimately, there should be individual benefit if you watch these videos and do the work. Whatever that might be. It might be get out of the market. It might be sell. It might be, sign up with a property manager faster. It might be hang tight. You might figure out that you might see what's going on and realize that there might be an opening for you for more business in the next 6 months. And that may be true for a lot of the property managers. So it's basically to allow each of us to become more competitive in a way that benefits each of us. For those who are interested in information about me, as I said, I'm going to be dropping a lot of names on other people. So in fairness, you can find me. My name is on my website. You come here. I have a background in technology. I had a small metal art business for a while that's still kind of around. It's in mothballs, sort of. I'm involved in vacation rentals and rental property. I am a licensed contractor. I used to buy and rehab properties in Baltimore for years. Again, I'm a licensed, and not only am I a licensed contractor, but I used to buy and rehab the property, so I was a small-time developer as well. I am also a licensed real estate agent, and at one point I got certified recently to be a CAT adjuster for storms and stuff for insurance companies. I never ended up going out on any deployments for various reasons. I need to take this off here. This was done about 2 years ago when I was trying to head out. But so I'm there. I also have gotten into the, I don't know if you call it alternative publishing space, but I'm trying to build a small footprint for myself as far as publishing. So, this has links to some pretty interesting information. So anyway, anybody who wants to go looking, that's where you find out information about me. Okay. Now, there were two other questions I want to hit on, then I'll wrap this up. The one is location dots. Okay, somebody asked about these in one of the conversations. The upside down teardrops are exact locations. These round dots are approximate locations. We do have an option in our console to select approximate location instead of exact location, although most people don't use it. Although I'm seeing more now, and that's what these are. And who controls the location, the approximation dot, to me is a question, because this guy's approximation, this is Michael again, this guy's approximation dot, he's right on the edge here, and they have dropped him right. This is a prime spot for Baltimore. If you know where the stadiums are and the convention center, it doesn't get any better than this. And they've basically almost doubled his distance closer to those things. And they've moved him across Martin Luther King Boulevard, which is a pretty significant move from a location estimate perspective. So anyway, that's what the round dots are, and that's why I had an interest in them. Then finally, somebody asked, I wonder what this guy does, the guy that owned this property. You can find him on LinkedIn. I think I have him over here. Okay. And again, this is all his information is on the VRBO profile. He's got a unique name. If you scroll down, he's got a pretty fascinating background. He seems to have spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. and San Francisco. He's tied to banking with Capital One. He's tied to business consulting. He's also tied to Marco Rubio, so he's got some politics background, and then his education's interesting. Guy's done a lot of things. BA in anthropology. He's got a master's in political management, and he's got a master's of business administration from UC Berkeley. So he's got Berkeley, George Washington, Vanderbilt. He's bounced both coasts. He's worked in politics. He's worked in consulting, and now he's worked in banking. And boy, is he just smoking it with his Airbnb rental with 43 reviews in 40 weeks. So that's it. Let's see here. I think I'm going to wrap it up for now. So that wraps up this video, and I'll talk to you shortly.